What it do? Bedtime crew. Hey man, listen, today I am here to talk about the fights that the UFC needs to make after UFC 317, which just took place. Obviously, Ilia Topuria is the new lightweight champion after brutally sliming out our boy Charles Oliveira. I'm going to be talking about who his first title defense should be against. I'm also going to be talking about what should be next for Charles Oliveira, Pantoja, Kai Kara France, Joshua Van, the GOAT. I'm not going to be covering everybody, unfortunately. I don't really have that much time or energy to be worrying about the next fight for Viviane Araújo or some shit like that. So, if that's what you're waiting for, you're on the wrong video, my brother. But let's get into this, all right? First guy I want to talk about is Jose Delgado, who got a very, very nasty TKO on the prelims against Haider Emil. This guy's a pretty exciting prospect at featherweight. I was glazing this guy in my prediction video. That came true. And I think the next fight to make for Jose Delgado, Doo Ho Choi. I don't know why Jose Delgado called out fucking William Gomez. I don't know whether the kid's trying to get decisioned or what. Why the fuck would you call out Gomez when you just TKO'd the guy that beat him already by decision? Skip that cutscene. Why are you trying to fight one of the most boring fuckers in the featherweight division? I think Doo Ho Choi, bigger name than Gomez, closer to the rankings than Gomez, more exciting fight than Gomez, probably more beatable than Gomez as well. This is a no-brainer in my opinion. This is a blockhead level 3 matchup. Can somebody get this kid, Jose Delgado, some color on the UFC website? And can we make this fight, please? I would love to see this at UFC Noche. I would love to see this on a pay-per-view. Or as like the featured fight of a fight night in front of a crowd. I want to see Doo Ho Choi versus Delgado. All right, Jose Delgado. All right, man. Next fight to talk about is Gregory Rodriguez. Obviously, this guy fluked a knockout against Jack Hermansson. It's sad to say, man. It's sad to say and it's sad to see because I was a Jack Hermansson believer. I kind of fucked with the crafty little title run that Jack Hermansson was putting together. One win and one loss at a time. But unfortunately, it's back to the drawing board for Jack Hermansson. Like I said in my recap video, I feel like Jack Hermansson's the type of guy to randomly come back and beat someone dangerous by decision. Like, I feel like he could come back and beat fucking Atiba Gauthier or, I don't even know, somebody like that by random decision in the Apex. But as for RoboCop, he was on the verge of the rankings. They put him in there against Jared Cannonier and he almost beat him and then got finished. So we know that RoboCop's near the rankings. We know the UFC wants to see this fight. I do want to shout out Benny P MMA. This guy had a very interesting theory about Israel Adesanya fighting RoboCop next because Adesanya's on a losing streak. He's highly ranked and he's mentioned RoboCop in the past as someone that he'd like to fight, and RoboCop just got a big win on a pay-per-view. He's likely to get jumped up the rankings. I could see a weird world where that happens. Because I feel like they wanted to do that with Bo Nickel and Shara Bullet, but they didn't get the chance. They might just take it and send Shara Bullet, what's this guy's name? RoboCop up against Israel Adesanya. But if I'm the UFC matchmakers, I want to see Abu Smargomedov versus Gregory Rodriguez. Because Rodriguez is such a weird, he beats Jack Hermansson. Okay, that makes sense. How does this guy lose to fucking Bruno Ferreira, dude? How does this guy lose to fucking like half of these guys that he's losing to, but then he's beating Jack Hermansson? He's getting destroyed by fucking Cannonier in round 2 and 3 that has no cardio whatsoever. Some fights he looks amazing, some fights he looks terrible. He's going to war with Chidi Njokuani at middleweight. I think that RoboCop versus Abu Smargomedov is two kind of inconsistent, low gas tank, high danger early on kind of guys. Near that top 15, like 11 through 15 kind of spot. I think Abu Smargomedov's currently ranked number 15 or number 14 in the division. So in terms of the rankings, in terms of the pure style matchup, I think this is a great fight to make. The winner of this can move on to fighting like a Roman Dolidze, maybe a Marvin Vettori. I will be talking about UFC 318 because somehow it got worse. Somehow, the UFC, God bless them, they're fucking geniuses. They've made UFC 318 worse. There's no Brendan Allen versus Marvin Vettori on the card, which I was kind of looking forward to. The co-main event is fucking Dan Ige and Patricio Chihuahua, whatever this guy's name is. And Atiba Gauthier's unranked middleweight on the featured fight of the card. Regardless of that, I think that the winner of this could move on to maybe fighting a Marvin Vettori or a Paulo Costa Roman Kopylov winner, which will be on the 318 card. That's what I would do with these guys. I think these are two pretty dangerous guys on the come up in the middleweight division. You can't really book them against someone higher up unless, like I said, you jump RoboCop up against Izzy or something like that. But for me, that's what I would do. All right, man. Next guy to talk about is Payton Talbot. We're back. We're fucking back, dude. Hey, stay on that side, bro. Stay on that side, bro. I picked Felipe Lima by decision. Stay on that side, bro. We believed in Payton Talbot the whole time. We knew that this guy was going to come back. That's why I left him in the channel banner. And not because I don't know how to change it. It's because I truly do still believe in Payton Talbot as a prospect. I think this guy's going on a title run. I do believe he's going to go on a win streak again in the bantamweight division. And I think that the next fight to make for Payton Talbot, which is a mix of kind of name value, like you want to have somebody in there that people are like, oh, this is an interesting fight. You want some meme potential as well. You want kind of some interest there. And this is a fight near the rankings that's not top 15, but does really, really test the abilities of Payton Talbot if this guy that he's fighting locks in. I want to see Patchy Mix, the fucking Tin Man, versus Payton Talbot. I'm sorry, I just had to start laughing because I remembered Patchy Mix just moving around like a robot with like an angry little like a face like he's trying to hold in a fucking shit, dude. Like Patchy Mix in his last fight looked so terrible, but he lost to Mario Batista, so you can't really hold that against him too much. It's just he looked bad, but he also fought someone good. So I think this is a pretty decently entertaining fight for Patchy Mix to take. I think it's a big name in the bantamweight division. Like your other options are, we throw this guy in there against like Damon Blackshear, Davey Grant, somebody that could potentially beat him as well, just like I think Payton Talbot would be able to beat him, except there's no name value there whatsoever. Whereas at least if he goes in there against Payton Talbot, casuals are going to see this fight and think, damn, this guy beat Payton Talbot. That's kind of crazy. Or if Payton Talbot beats him, it's like, good for the UFC. That's my logic behind this. I think it's an interesting matchup. It's two kind of stiff, upright kind of guys on the feet with some pretty good power. There'd be some good grappling scrambles happening in this fight. I want to see Patchy Mix versus Payton Talbot. I think that this is a pretty smart idea if I'm the UFC. Again, also because you can put this on a pay-per-view. I don't think you can throw Payton Talbot in there right now after that last performance against some random unranked jobber at bantamweight. I think you kind of have to throw him in there with someone with name value, whether that's like Cody Garbrandt, but I think that's a bit of a step down now. You know, something like that. I think Patchy Mix is the best choice here. He's beatable. He's high level. I think that hardcores would kind of look at this and be like, all right, that's pretty good. And it's kind of win-win for the UFC, considering they probably put a lot of stock into bringing Patchy Mix in. And they obviously want Payton Talbot to be a big deal. So that's what I would do with Payton Talbot. I feel like that's a genius fucking crafty matchmaking decision by me. Let's talk about Hinata Moicano, because I went on a fucking legendary rant about this guy in the recap video. By the way, the recap video pushed me to my fucking limits, because I finished that video before Charles Oliveira's body left the fucking cage, and my video took an hour and a half to upload. So whoever's running the fucking internet in Australia, I'm coming at you. I'm coming for the fucking money, kid. I'm coming for the fucking money, you fucking liar. But regardless of that, Hinata Moicano also pissed me off by standing around at range menacingly and losing a decision to 40-year-old Beneil Dariush. Outside of that, this is what I think should happen with Hinata Moicano. There is no denying that when this guy was on the press conference and when this guy walked out for 317, even at UFC 311, there is name value here with Hinata Moicano. There's a lot of fans behind him. People find him funny for whatever reason. And he does kind of have a bit of clout in this lightweight division. So you can't really be like, all right, let's do Moicano versus Bahamondes or Moicano versus Grant Dawson, right? You can't just throw him in there with someone that doesn't really have any hype or name value. I think an interesting fight to make for Hinata Moicano that is, makes sense ranking-wise, two big names, win-win for the UFC, which I feel like is really important and something I'm good at as a matchmaker, if I'm speaking humbly. May I say this? Hinata Moicano versus Michael Chandler. The loser must become a full-time podcaster. The winner, you can lose to someone entertaining in the top 10. That's my final offer. The loser of this one will be putting fries in bags expeditiously, the winner of this one will be moving up in the division and fighting a fucking Justin Gaethje or a Max Holloway if he loses, or a Charles Oliveira. You know what I mean? Like, you're losing to a Dan Hooker if he loses to someone in the top 5. That's what I'm thinking with this fight. So Michael Chandler, Renato Moicano, whose fight IQ is higher, we have no idea. I think this would be a very entertaining scrap. I think that Michael Chandler's a little bit chinny. I think Renato Moicano could maybe tag him up on the feet. Chandler could mix in the wrestling and take him down. I think this would be, all in all, a very goofball, exciting matchup. Like I said as well, it's win-win for the UFC. These are two big names that the fans would be interested in seeing fighting each other. It makes a lot of sense ranking-wise because this is number 11 and number 12 in the division. They're both coming off a couple of losses to some big names, but they still have hype behind them. They're still always going to have interest in watching these guys fight. So I would do Renato Moicano versus Michael Chandler. And I would do Beneil Dariush versus Rafael. I'm sorry, Benny, but I have to get you slimed out now for ruining my fucking picks, dude. For stinking up 317, trying to make the card boring. It thankfully got saved by my boy Joshua Van. But Beneil Dariush, I'm sorry, brother, I have to do this to you. It's either this or you fight Mauricio Rufy. These are your options. Which one are you taking, brother? Fiziev versus Dariush. This is an interesting matchup in my opinion. These are two guys that kind of got sidelined for a long time in the past year and a half, and I think at some point they would have fought each other if they weren't injured or, out cold from Arman Sarukian. So I like the idea of this matchup. It's fresh, it's different. We're not doing Gamrot versus one of these two for the 15th millionth time. You're not sending these guys up way too far up the division. I think Dariush and Fiziev, they're right next to each other in the rankings. They are an interesting matchup. Like, Beneil Dariush has some good kicks. He has some good power in the hands. Fiziev's going to do a lot better than Moicano at defending takedowns, being explosive, being dangerous, trying to hurt Beneil Dariush. And I do think he would probably KO Beneil Dariush or just beat him by decision. I still think it would be an entertaining scrap. So I'm going to say Beneil Dariush versus Rafael Fiziev. You could put this as a fight night main event in the Apex. You could put it as the co-main event to a fight night in front of a crowd. At best, I would put this as like the opener to a pay-per-view. That's what I would do with this. So I'm going to say Beneil Dariush, Rafael Fiziev makes the most sense. Like, I don't really know what else you would do with Dariush. Bro's talking about fighting for the belt. I don't know who's going to tell this guy he's not touching the fucking belt with Ilia's chat. Please don't try and get to the belt, bro. Benny, I don't want to see you anywhere near Ilia Topuria, dude. You're like just beloved enough for Ilia to kind of look at you and be like, all right, man. Maybe I will fight Beneil Dariush. You know what I mean? Just stay away from fucking Ilia, dude. Fight Beneil, fight Rafael Fiziev, lose to him. Fight fucking Drew Dober again, or fight Bobby Green or something, man. Fight Jim Miller, dude. Fight Chase Hooper. Fight somebody that's not gonna sleep you out cold like Ilia. So let's do Fiziev versus Dariush. I wouldn't be mad at Dariush versus Dan Hooker as well. I think that would be fine. I've seen some people talk about Dariush versus not Justin Gaethje, Jesus Christ, versus Michael Chandler. That'd be fine, but I think that's what you should do with these guys, all right? Now, let's talk about the co-main event. Featured fight. Joshua Van. We will be fighting Pantoja for the belt. And I'm just going to say this. I don't give a fuck, dude. Joshua Van's going to be beating Pantoja, bro. I'm on the train. I went on this train with fucking JDM. I've been on this train in the past before with other people. I'm on the train with Joshua Van. He's beating Pantoja. I don't care about the odds. I don't care what people think. Joshua Van has great takedown defense. He's not going to slow down. Pantoja's not going to chin him the way that I was worried Royval was going to chin him, because he was throwing those uppercuts that Charles Johnson fluked him with, and I was getting really worried. I don't think the power of Pantoja is going to be enough to stop Joshua Van. And I think that unless he submits Joshua Van, he's not winning this fight, dude. He's not marauding my GOAT Joshua Van. I want to see this fight headline a pay-per-view. I really believe that if you stack an undercard and you build on what we got at UFC 317, which was an amazing fight of Royval versus Van, and then Joshua Van calls his shot and gets in the cage with Pantoja right after the title fight, they have a stare down. Every single person online is saying, this is a great fight. We all want to see this. The fans are divided, right? The casuals, the young, curly, broccoli-headed TikTok fans are saying Joshua Van by KO. Hardcore's being like, dude, Pantoja round one, so there's something here. There's something to this. There really is. I want this to headline a pay-per-view before the year is over. I want to see this with a stacked undercard. And I really feel like Joshua Van has the best chance right now out of the top 5 to beat Pantoja. I think it's him. I think Makayev would have been an interesting matchup. I think Moreno's always going to be a tough fight. But I think Joshua Van is going to be the guy. I really believe if Joshua Van ages out Pantoja as well, like maybe if he makes him wait until like December, January, and Pantoja's like 36, I really feel like Joshua Van could pull this off. So I'm super excited for this. I'm very, I'm looking forward to this greatly. I hope this headlines a pay-per-view. The only thing I will accept for if this doesn't headline a pay-per-view is if they throw this as the bloody co-main event to JDM Islam. Could you guys imagine the video? I'm gonna just drop it. I need to chill with the things I'm about to say, but bro, you guys know what type of video I'm dropping. If Joshua Van beats Pantoja and JDM sleeps Islam in the same card. You guys know what I'm oiling up on camera, bro. That's gonna be a great day if that happens, all right? As for Kai Kara France, he unfortunately lost to Pantoja. I think him versus Royval rematching would be sick. These guys had a great fight back in like 2020. Double knockdowns on both sides. Great scrambles. Royval got the win by submission. I think this is a really fun matchup. Like, it's kind of win-win. Like, both of these guys are coming off a loss now. There's no real pressure from the UFC to give the winner of this a title shot. You can just throw this together as like a fun fight and be like, yeah, fuck it, dude. Throw it on the Perth card, man. Throw it on that Perth Fight Night card as like the co-main event. Royval versus Kai Kara France. Entertaining scrap. 2 top-ranked guys. Like, it makes sense with the rankings. The fans will get behind it. They're both super entertaining. They match up well against each other. There's not going to be much grappling. Royval's going to dog it out and try and scrap with him. I think he'll bring the best out of Kai Kara France like he did in their first fight. This, to me, is a no-brainer. I think that's a smart fight. Maybe you do Royval versus Moreno 2 or 3, excuse me. Maybe you do that trilogy, but I think this is a better fight, honestly. All right, man. Let's talk about the main event. I'll talk about Charles Oliveira first, and then I'll talk about Ilia Topuria, because I think you know what I'm going to say for Ilia Topuria. But as for Charles Oliveira, man, he's in such a tough spot, dude. Like, I would not be mad at Charles Oliveira just retiring right now. As one of the greatest lightweights of all time, you know, I tried to get the belt back a second time. It's not looking like he's going to touch the belt again. Like, let's just be real here. I don't think he beats Arman Tsarukyan in a rematch. He already lost to Arman Tsarukyan. I think he beats only these people do I think he beats in that top 5. Justin Gaethje, Dustin Poirier, and Dan Hooker. I think Max Holloway beats Charles Oliveira right now. Not even talking about MMA math. I just think Max Holloway beats him right now. But obviously, when you look at Ilia versus Max and then you look at Charles versus Max, there's a huge fucking difference in how those fights played out. I would say this. If Charles Oliveira wants to keep fighting, give him Dan Hooker. Make a 5-round fight of Charles Oliveira versus Dan Hooker so that Charles Oliveira can get a win back. That's what I would honestly do, because Dan Hooker does deserve to fight up the division. It seems like Gaethje is kind of sitting around hoping he's going to get a title shot. I don't know who's going to tell this guy Rufus that he's not getting a title shot. And if he does, he's getting slept inside 2 minutes. But maybe Dan Hooker versus Justin Gaethje happens, but if Rufus is serious about sitting around waiting for a title shot, Dan Hooker versus Charles Oliveira is a great fight. I think this is a really exciting matchup for like a number 1 contender for the BMF type of thing. That's what I would do, right? Or maybe you just throw Oliveira straight into a BMF fight with Max Holloway if he beats Dustin Poirier at UFC 318, but gun to my head right now, what fight would I make for Charles Oliveira? I'd say him versus Dan Hooker. He probably wins this fight inside 2 rounds by finish. He points at, I pick the Bronx. I beat a champion. The champion is name Charles Oliveira, bro. You know what I mean? We get a bit of a feel-good moment. That's what I would do if I'm running the UFC and I'm trying to give Charles Oliveira a bounce back. I'd give him Dan Hooker, okay? As for Ilia Topuria, now this is where I switch up on everything I've ever said in the past, because you guys know me. If you know me, you know that I've been saying Arman Tsarukyan is the real number 1 contender. Arman Tsarukyan deserves a title shot. It should have been Arman versus Ilia. All right? And I do believe that. Deep in my heart, I would not be mad, and I know the right thing to do is Ilia Topuria versus Arman Tsarukyan for the lightweight title. This is the number 1 lightweight versus the number 2 lightweight. Armin was the backup for this fight. He was supposed to fight Islam Makhachev. I really believe he would have done great against Islam Makhachev. Like, I really thought there was a chance Armin Tsarukyan could beat Islam Makhachev. I really believe there is a chance Armin Tsarukyan could beat Ilia Topuria. But with all of that being said, I don't give a fuck. I want to see Ilia versus Patty. I don't care. I don't give a fuck. This is the one time you can do this. Armin Tsarukyan is coming off pulling out of a title fight. You can use the logic of like, hey kid, you got to get back in there and fight somebody before you get a title shot. Boom, he's gone. Justin Gaethje wants a title shot. You're 1-1 in your last 2 fights. You've beat Fiziev twice. That's your last 2 wins. You're gone. Charles Oliveira, you just got slept. You're gone. Dustin Poirier, you're retired. You're gone. Max Holloway, you lost to Ilia. You're gone. There's nobody left. Paddy Pimblett really might get a fucking title shot. And the fact that I missed this interaction in my immediate recap video pisses me off, because this to me is confirmation this is happening. The fact they brought Paddy Pimblett in the cage, you know, fair plays for what you've done, but you're not gonna fucking knock me out. I'm gonna fucking bully you, little man, you know what I mean? Dude, inject this fight into my veins, bro. Van versus Pantoja, JDM Islam, Ilia versus Paddy, Dricus versus Hamza. These are the most hype fights in my opinion. Inject all of them into my veins. I want to see Paddy Pimblett versus Ilia so badly, because I know, based purely on plot armor, people are going to laugh at me, dude, but I don't care. You know it's true, low-key. Paddy Pimblett will do better than Charles Oliveira. Paddy Pimblett will do better than Volkanovski. Paddy Pimblett may just win a round off Ilia Topuria. I really believe Paddy Pimblett could low-key fluke this, just based on pure plot armor. I cannot see Ilia Topuria sleeping Paddy Pimblett out cold. I don't know why. I know it goes against all logic, but I think the logical prediction is Ilia versus Armin. You know, Armin's probably the toughest fight for Ilia, but deep in my heart, I just know Paddy Pimblett's going to randomly do well against Ilia Topuria. I'm not going to go as far as to pick Paddy Pimblett, but I might consider it. So these are my thoughts on what the UFC should do next after UFC 317. It was a really good pay-per-view. I think I stressed that in the recap video yesterday, but having a little bit more time to kind of think about it and kind of really process everything that happened. This is a huge fight. Like Ilia versus Paddy Pimblett. The way that people reacted to Ilia Topuria during the walkout after he beat Charles Oliveira, every single thing we're seeing on social media, I really believe that Ilia versus Paddy is a Conor versus Nate Diaz level fight. I think this is the type of fight that could have a full-blown world tour, press conferences, you know, get treated like a Canelo versus Crawford. And I know maybe that sounds kind of insane, but I don't think that's ridiculous to say. I actually do believe there is enough hype from casuals behind Ilia and Paddy that if you make this fight right now, the UFC is going to be in great hands. These guys are both younger than 30. They both have huge followings. They both have, you know, great highlight reels, all this trash talk between them. I think this is like the biggest fight straight up you can make in terms of just pure casual interest in the UFC that doesn't involve Jones or McGregor or Khabib. That's my just honest opinion. I think this is going to be a bigger fight numbers-wise than whatever it would have been Ilia versus Islam. And I think it's going to be bigger than JDM Islam. Even though I love JDM, I think this is going to be bigger. This is going to be the biggest fight the UFC can announce. So I would just say, fuck it, let's do it. Let's not wait. Let's not risk Paddy losing to Armin or Gaethje. You know what I mean? Like, don't take the risk. Just say, fuck it, let's do Paddy versus Ilia. And then we can build up Paddy. And if he's really that good, he'll beat these guys and get another chance. So that's what I would do. Let me know your opinions in the comments down below. Do you agree? Do you disagree with me? I want to hear it down below. If you guys are enjoying the videos, make sure you're subscribed. Thank you guys so much for 83,000 subscribers. That's fucking insane to me. Make sure you guys drop a like if you enjoyed it. Go follow me on Instagram and Twitter as well at Bedtime MMA. And I will see you guys in the next video, man. Goodbye.